And so we will go to item 11 under our action agenda. An action is necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. So, do I have Ms. Gardner?
I move that we approve the selected employment items as shown in Exhibit A.
Do I have a second? Ms. Hines seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Any other actions?
Yes,
On
ma'am.
executive session, Ms. Huddle.
Yes, I move that per agenda item 3C, we authorize the administration to contract with Angela Bain Consulting for a total cost not to exceed $10,000 for organization, structure, and efficiency consulting.
Is there a second? Mr. Lovelace seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is 5-0. Thank you. Any other items?
Yes, ma'am.
You have one more, Ms. Huddle.
One more. Per agenda item 3E.
E, yeah.
I move that we approve the deeds and easements for the force main and lift station and the water mains and lines for Piney Woods Elementary per Exhibit C.
Is there a second? There's a second, Ms. Gardner. Any questions? No discussion? All those in favor? 5-0, that carries. Thank you. Any other motions from executive session? You didn't have one? Okay. All right, good. So we will go to item 12, substitute staffing contract. Exhibit E, Ms. Rawls, you're going to handle that.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross, I wanted to provide you all the information related to the substitute contract following the RFP process that we entered. We received 5 bids, 4 were responsive, and the result of the selection committee was ESS Southeast LLC, and you have the copy of the intent to award. We are in the protest period at this time. It will be, I checked today, we have not received any protest as of today. However, we have until July 19th before the protest period will be over, and we will, barring any protest, we will begin set up and implementation on July 20th. I wanted to provide you all an opportunity to take action on this if you choose to. If not, the procurement code has been followed, and this was the selection of the selection committee. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Rawls? Yes.
Just for the public's knowledge of kind of the new contract, would you mind just kind of going over what the rate changes? The daily rate is changing now with the new contract?
I can provide that. I don't have it with me right
We
now.
did increase it.
There was an increase in the daily rate for all positions listed. It is only for certified teachers, paraprofessionals, food service workers, and custodians. We did settle on long-term positions in a certified position be paid daily rate once they have been in the same assignment for more than 10 consecutive days. So that way they would be paid their certified daily rate. And that would be in order to provide the best opportunity for the students when there are long-term vacancies or long-term leave, FMLA taken by our employees. It's providing the best instructional environment for our students.
And I mean, I guess just a comment, one of the concerns that we had was that we were paying some rates before that weren't necessarily to people certified in that subject matter. So with the new contract, once they've taught the 10 days, they will be certified in the subject they're teaching before it bumps up.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Rawls, we know how important substitute teachers are for our kids. And so I appreciate all the hard work you did on this. And I think anytime we can increase the substitute pay, the children win.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the substitute staffing contract as presented by Ms. Rawls tonight.
Is there a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All those in favor? And that is 5-0. Thank you so much for that work. Next is item 13, follow-up discussion regarding parents and students' safety concerns across the district.
Ms. Hammond?
Yes.
I want to comment on this item on the agenda, just because there was a lot of confusion coming into tonight what this item was. I didn't know. I wasn't involved in the board officer meeting, obviously, so it just didn't convey clearly on the agenda. So I had reached out to Dr. Ross, and we spoke about that, and really, I'm about to make a motion, but I just wanted to say that out. I know that there were some folks that had reached out wondering and wanting clarification on what that item was about, and really it was for the board to take action on the issues that were addressed at the last meeting. And Dr. Ross has asked us to make a motion that he supports. So I am going to make a motion. I'm going to move that we direct the administration research, establish, and implement programs to accurately measure and significantly reduce safety concerns, such as bullying, in order to improve the classroom management and the social emotional health of all students in Lexington Richland 5.
Is there a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. And is there any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to tell a story, and Dr. Ross, I hope you don't throw anything at me. But to anybody that thinks that Dr. Ross is not concerned about this, I think that is far from the truth. Or anybody who thinks this board is not concerned about this. We have grave concerns, and I believe with my whole heart that Dr. Ross is going to come back to us with programs and fixes or whatever it takes. And my story is that the day after he was appointed, I was eating lunch with my husband at a sandwich shop, and my husband went in to get some more sauce for his sandwich, and he comes out and he says, he calls me Kathy, so I guess I'm allowed to call my first name here. He says, "Kathy, Dr. Ross is in there." And I go in there, and he was meeting with the parent and one of the children that had spoke at the public meeting. And he wasn't even on board yet. He didn't start till July 1st. So I just want to put it out there that we have someone who really does care, who has taken extra steps to, and I think he met with more than just that. So I believe that we're taking the right steps, and we will solve this problem, and we recognize that it's a problem, and that's the first step, is recognizing it.
Okay. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I want to say this, that the day after Dr. Ross accepted the position and signed his contract, he called my wife, who was a former board member, and got the information from her as to all of the folks that spoke at the board meeting, which I think was, excuse me if my memory serves me right, was June the 14th, 2021. He went and reached out to each and every one of those folks that spoke at that meeting and to the children. And I want to commend him, because it wasn't his place to do that. I mean, he took it upon himself because he believes in this district, and he believes in children, and he believes in bettering the outcomes of those that are not as fortunate as others. And I just want to commend him for that.
And I'm excited about, Ms. Huddle, I appreciate what you said, and Ms. Hines, I appreciate what you said. As we are going forward with this strategic plan, I can just tell you, as a teacher in every district, it needs to be addressed, and we're going to hit this head on, and we feel this motion is going to give you that power and authority to, look at new ways to attack bullying, and new ways for our teachers to have help and for our administrators to have help. So I'm excited about it, and I'm proud of this board, very proud of this board. So all those in favor of Ms. Hines' motion, we had a motion and a second. Any other comments? We vote 5-0. Thank you. Now, discussion. We are making, that's right, well, in case some of you weren't here, that's now on the action agenda.
Yeah,
Okay, we made a motion and had enough votes as an emergency vote to change this because of a timing, and we'll explain that in the motion. But discussion of results of engineering study of construction defects from 2008 bond referendum, Chapin High School project. So we're under a tight timeline on this. So, Mr. Lovelace, would you like to take this? Well, Mr. Beaton, you're going to make a presentation. I'm sorry. I thought
present to us, I hope so.
Thank you so much. I remember now. I thought Mr. Lovelace was starting us off, but you are.
Well, Mr. Lovelace is the expert. I will give him credit on the. We have, as we have presented the board with the precast coping investigation. This was done by WM Envelope, which is a company we've never used, and they've inspected the roof at Chapin, and we have provided you with their findings. Obviously, there's some alarming findings here that we wanted to discuss tonight, and I think, Mr. Lovelace, I can either go over those findings, or if you want to, your pleasure, sir.
I can. First of all, I guess I should make the motion, and then we have
And then
a
we'll
second.
discuss it.
And then
That's
we'll
good.
discuss. I mean, and if you don't mind, posing as a moderator for us for a few minutes, okay? I move that we direct the superintendent to immediately require the district's attorney to serve notice in the most expedited manner possible to China Construction Company of America. The notice is to demand it to respond to conditions shown in the I keep reversing that, WM Envelope Consultants LLC report entitled Precast Coping Investigation and Written Report, Chapin High School, dated May 25, 2021, and to take actions to remediate as soon as possible.
Is there a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Now we can have discussion. Would you like to lead that, or you would like
Yes,
Mr. Beaton? Okay.
I stated this earlier. Let me try to find it here. But earlier, we, in a presentation by the previous director of facilities, he showed us photographs and of some deficient construction items concerning Chapin High School. And at that time, we had issued a contract to a company from Fort Mill to do repairs to the copings on the 2008 bond referendum portion of the roof wall juncture at Chapin High School.
It was leaking.
And there were some obvious leaks. There were leaks through the walls, which, as we all know, creates huge problems over the years. Okay, that company came in, and apparently from the discussion, this was July the 2nd, 2018, when the contract was issued to the company from Fort Mill, and they went in sometime in August and did caulking and so forth related to these precast copings. The photographs showed that there was deficient construction in the following regards. Okay, there were joints that were supposed to be set in sealant. By the way, I have a copy of the original specifications for the project, and I studied those so that I could tell you what was apparently wrong from those photographs. So I compared that, what was in the photograph, to what should have been done in the specifications. Okay, joints were supposed to be set with sealant filled joints. They were not. They were set with mortar, in direct contradiction to 3.3E of the project specification under section 47200. There at number 2, according to 3.12.2 and multi-width walls, the through-wall flashing was to be set within ½ inch of the face of the wall. It wasn't. At the interior of the face of the wall, you could see cores in the brick, so water could enter directly into those cores and went down the wall. Item 3, according to section 42,312E, there was supposed to be a weep system. A weep system is a system that allows water to exfiltrate the wall and also air to get in, so that if any moisture is in the cavity, that are in the joint system that it can be exposed to air and so forth. There were none shown on the photographs that were presented to us. And the fourth thing was that according to 3.12.B1 and 2, to place the through-wall flashing in a sloping bed of mortar, that was not done. There were obvious protrusions and valleys in that, and it was not a sloping bed, so any water that entered the system would go down through the through-wall flashing into the wall cavity. Okay, so we asked, at that time, we asked Mr. Biedenbaugh and the Director of Facilities at that time to contract with an engineering company to study this further. The report is in our agenda for tonight, if anybody wants to see it. The report indicates deviations from the construction that we were supposed to have found, and therefore we are moving quickly as we can because we're up against some time barriers related to finding a latent situation that we have to operate on because of statutes of limitation. I believe we're still within our legal rights, but to do that, we have to move tonight, because if we do not, by the next meeting in August, we may have surpassed that period of time. And therefore, we took the opportunity to move this up on the agenda as an action item. We have discussed this twice, once in executive session and then out in the public, and another time we discussed it. So it's not like we haven't thoroughly discussed the issue in public, but now we have to take action or lose our rights.
So, Mr. Lovelace, this motion, if it carries, it would give it would have Mr. Biedenbaugh contact legal counsel.
Legal counsel is here, I believe, in the person of Mr.
You did
of
state.
Attorney Reiser.
Yes, hey, because any money we can retrieve for something that was done wrong, we certainly need to find that money and let it fix our schools. And any money saved that we don't spend on fixing that and they fix something they did wrong can go back in the classroom. And that's what this board's about.
This district has already expended $58,000 in that regard. And having been in the construction industry a while, I want to point out, too, that this is just one location, which is at the roof parapet caps. The report also that WM describes, there are other multiple locations where this same occurrence could be. We didn't do destructive testing at window heads and things like that, but there are other locations where WEEP systems I know were not installed because, at the time. So, this could be very expensive. We don't know exactly, but I know we're going to, to get into that. So anyway, that's pretty much where we stand.
Thank you. I think Ms. Huddle had a comment.
I have a question. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So we contracted in July 2018 for the caulking. Was that like a normal, like we just needed to caulk, or was that because we're having issues?
The way I see it, and Mr. Biedenbaugh, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a remediation so that we could stop the infiltration of water into the building because we were having some major issues. Okay, we mitigated the circumstance, which is what you're supposed to do, and then investigated. We've investigated. We're still within our rights to go, to follow through, and the contractor should come back and repair those. If what I'm telling you turns out to be the case everywhere. I mean, this was destructive testing that occurred at 3 locations.
Three locations, yes, sir.
Okay, and so in other words, they investigated 3 locations, and it found the same basic problems, save one, was found at all 3 locations.
Same place, same problems at all 3 locations.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
that's an indicator that we're probably going to find the same, throughout. But, we don't know that, but when that happens, you have to assume that you're going to, find the same situation everywhere.
So this is probably an expensive fix, that's why we want the contractor to pay for it.
Well, I mean, the caulking is always the last line of defense. You don't depend on something that's going to obviously fail in 5 to 7 years for your first line of defense. The wall flashings and all, or this building was built, I would think, for 75 to 100 years use. Okay, and if we've got to go in there every 7 years, and plus that, over time, the caulking doesn't work as well because it doesn't adhere as well to the substrates. So there's no point, and there's no reason for us to accept substandard work when we know
Right.
that or have an inference into that possibly could go on and cost us a bunch of money. And if we have to pay $58,000 every 7 years, I say we go in and bite the bullet and make them fix it. So
Well, and what you're saying is even if we did that, it doesn't work as much over time.
that's right.
And
It's decreasing efficiency.
And if water gets in there, we could get mold?
I was going to say, as a teacher, that is the problem sometimes in schools across the state. So I think it's very smart, and there are many children and teachers that are allergic to mold. And, that happens when water is standing.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I know, Mr. Biedenbaugh, we're looking into ESSER funds for quality of air.
Yes, sir.
And if you have mold in your walls, it doesn't matter what you do with the air conditioning system. Your quality of air is not going to be what you want. So, I mean, I think that we're not left with any choice but to solve this problem head on and with the most efficient method. And if that's contacting our contractor and trying to ask him to come back to fix it in the beginning, and if he doesn't, he's going to have to, we'll have to move from there to something else. So,
Okay. Thank you. I think we got that argument. So we had a motion, you had a second, and a discussion, so we're going to vote on your vote. You want to read it again since we've been a few minutes talking about everything?
I move that we direct the superintendent to immediately require the district's attorney to serve notice in the most expedited manner possible to China Construction Company of America. The notice is to demand it respond to conditions shown in the WM Envelope Construction's report entitled Precast Coping Investigation and Written Report, Chapin High School, dated May 25, 2021, and take actions to remediate as soon as possible.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion? That's 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beatonbaugh. We
Thank you.
appreciate your help.